We ended last time holding two chains, both perfectly linked, both full of valid signatures, telling completely different stories about who paid whom. Nothing in the mathematics can tell you which one is real, so we need two things: a way to make rewriting history genuinely expensive, and a rule everybody follows for deciding which chain wins. Today, we get both, and this is the part that was actually invented. Two complete chains side by side, both internally consistent, labeled real and rewritten, with a figure between them unable to choose. Start with the obvious idea because it fails in an interesting way. Just vote. Everybody on the network looks at the two chains, and the majority decides. Pause the video and see if you can spot why that collapses immediately. Here is why. Voting counts participants, and on the open internet, participants are free. I do not need to convince anybody. I simply create 10,000 fake members, all controlled by me, and every one of them votes for my version. Any system that counts identities is a system where the cheapest attack is manufacturing identities. One shady figure at a laptop surrounded by 10,000 identical puppet accounts, all raising their hands to vote, labeled identities are free. So we cannot count who you are. We have to count something that costs something to produce, something you cannot fake by opening more accounts. And here is the answer that started all of this. To add a new page to the chain, you must first solve a puzzle. Not a clever puzzle, a deliberately stupid one with no shortcut whatsoever. Take the contents of your page, add a random number of your choosing, and put the whole lot through a fingerprint function. If the fingerprint that comes out happens to start with a long run of zeros, you win, and your page is accepted. If it does not, you change the random number and try again. A page plus a random number going into a fingerprint machine, producing a fingerprint that fails, then another attempt, then one starting with many zeros stamped accepted. Now remember the property of fingerprints. There is no way to work backwards and no way to predict what the fingerprint will be before you compute it. So there is no clever route. The only strategy in existence is to guess, check, and guess again, billions upon billions of times. That is proof of work. And notice exactly what it is doing. It is not proving anything about the transactions, which the signatures already handled. It is proving that whoever produced this page burned real resources to do it. The page carries evidence of effort, and you can verify that evidence in a fraction of a second, even though producing it took enormous work. A mountain of failed attempts, beside one winning page, with a stopwatch showing hours to create and an instant tick showing seconds to check, labeled hard to make, easy to check. That asymmetry is everything. Hard to produce, trivial to verify. It means nobody has to trust the producer. They just check the evidence. And it adds turning adding to the chain into a lottery. Everybody is guessing at once, and whoever stumbles on a winning number first gets to add the next page. The more computing power you have, the more tickets you hold, but nobody is ever guaranteed to win. The difficulty is also adjusted automatically, so that as more machines join and the guessing gets faster, the puzzle gets harder and pages keep arriving at roughly a steady pace. Many machines all guessing numbers simultaneously, with one lucky winner holding a completed page and a dial labeled difficulty being turned up as more machines join. Now watch what this does to our rewriting problem. Say I want to alter a page from a week ago. As we saw last episode, I must redo that page and every page after it. But now, every one of those pages requires solving one of these puzzles. Meanwhile, the honest network is still adding new pages, and it is not waiting for me. So I am not just repeating a week of work, I'm repeating it faster than everybody else combined, while they extend their lead. Unless I control more computing power than the rest of the network put together, I fall further behind every minute. A lone machine slowly rebuilding a chain from a week ago, while a large group races ahead adding new pages, the gap between them widening.
which finally gives us the rule we needed. When you see two competing chains, you accept the one with the most work buried in it, not the longest by number of pages, the heaviest by total effort. Everybody follows that rule independently, without coordinating, without voting, and without knowing each other. And that is the actual invention. Not the chain, not the signatures, not the fingerprints. All of that existed already. The invention was making the right to write expensive and pairing it with a rule so simple that thousands of strangers arrive at the same answer without ever needing to talk. Two chains side by side, one visibly heavier with stacked weights labeled total work, chosen by every observer independently, headed heaviest chain wins. Now, the honest part, and there are several. First, this is not a mathematical guarantee. It is an economic one. If somebody genuinely acquires more computing power than everybody else combined, they can rewrite recent history and spend the same money twice. That is the famous 51% attack. It has never happened to the largest networks because the hardware and electricity would cost more than the theft is worth. But the protection is cost, not impossibility. Second, notice that a page is never truly final. It just becomes progressively harder to undo as more pages pile on top. This is why you are asked to wait for a few confirmations before treating a payment as settled. You are not waiting for a check to complete. You are waiting for the cost of reversing it to grow beyond anybody's reach. Third, and this is the criticism you have heard, all that guessing consumes an extraordinary amount of electricity. The largest proof-of-work network uses power on the scale of a medium-sized country. And here's the uncomfortable part. That is not a flaw to be optimized away. The waste is the security. The whole system works precisely because attacking it would cost a fortune in energy, so making it efficient would make it weak. Which raises the obvious question. Is burning electricity the only way to make writing expensive? No, and this is where most of the field has gone. The alternative is called proof of stake, and once you see the idea, it is beautifully simple. Instead of proving you burned something, you lock up a large amount of money as a deposit. The system then picks somebody at random to write the next page, weighted by how much they have locked up. Write honestly, and you earn a small reward. Try to cheat, and the network destroys your deposit. So the deep idea is identical in both. To take part in deciding history, you must put something valuable at risk. Proof of work risks energy. Proof of stake risks money.
In one, you buy machines and electricity. In the other, you lock up funds. Either way, cheating has to cost more than it gains, and that is the entire security model. The practical difference is enormous. When one major network switched from work to stake, its energy consumption dropped by around 99.9%. Most newer networks now use stake or a variant of it. But it is not a free win, and the honest objections are real. Stake naturally favors those who already hold the most, since influence is proportional to wealth. And proof of work has one thing stake cannot yet claim, which is over a decade of continuous public attack without being broken. Now, one last connection, because if you have watched our other series, you may be feeling something familiar. Kafka elects leaders. Redis holds elections through Sentinel. Databases pick a primary. Those are all agreement problems too, and we solved them without any of this machinery. So why is this so much harder? Because those systems assume the machines might fail, crash, freeze, lose the network. They do not assume the machines are actively lying to you, or that a single person secretly controls half of them, or that anybody can join at any moment with no invitation. Agreement among honest but unreliable machines is a solved and comparatively cheap problem. Agreement among machines that may be deliberately deceiving you with no membership list and no authority is a fundamentally harder one, and this is the price of solving it. So here's the big picture. Counting votes fails because identities are free, so instead you count something costly.
Proof of work makes producing a page require enormous guessing, trivial for anyone to verify, which turns rewriting the past into a race you cannot win. Everybody independently follows the heaviest chain. Proof of stake achieves the same thing by risking money instead of electricity. In both cases, the protection is economic, not mathematical. And with that, the machine finally stands up. We have a list nobody can quietly edit, and an agreement about which list is real, with nobody in charge, which leaves one very practical question. In a system with no accounts and no bank, what does it actually mean to own something? That's next time.